Russia could go on a gold standard tomorrow and expose that fiat currency for what it is. And that would be the end of the dollar. We're looking at 60% of the world's population, or nations representing 60% of the world's population, turning against the dollar in one swift move. It will be the end of the dollar. It will be the end of every dependent currency, fiat currency, unless they are prepared to embrace the gold standard.
As each day passes, the state of the U.S. economy increasingly mirrors previous periods of severe financial strain, such as the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, the high inflation and high interest rate environment of the 1980s, and potentially even the late 1920s before the Great Depression. With a debt-to-GDP ratio of 130%, the United States ranks among the most indebted nations globally. Economic forecasts suggest that the situation will intensify in the coming years as the U.S. continues to accumulate more debt and face escalating debt expenses. Experts predict a trajectory similar to Japan, which currently grapples with a 260% debt-to-GDP ratio and approaches a sovereign debt crisis. Alasdair Macleod, a prominent analyst at Gold Money, firmly advocates for a return to the gold standard as the sole measure capable of averting a catastrophic collapse of the global financial system. In a recent interview with Capital COSM, he outlines how Russian President Vladimir Putin could dismantle Western dominance and hypocrisy by endorsing a return to the gold standard. This move would involve Russia and its allies, including the BRICS nations, 25 other nations seeking alliance membership, and members of affiliated groups like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union, and the Belt and Road Initiative. Macleod asserts that such a collective shift to the gold standard would rapidly erode the dollar's status as the global reserve currency, causing gold prices to soar dramatically. Stay tuned as we present excerpts from Alasdair Macleod's interview with Capital COSM. But before we proceed, we kindly ask you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate notifications for more insightful content. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
America is losing its power. This is notable particularly in the way in which the dollar is being used less internationally. China and Russia, between them, are determined to do away with the dollar as much as possible. And so they're accepting each other's currencies. In the planning stage, they hope to introduce their own currency for trade settlement. That will be discussed at the next BRICS big meeting, which is in October in Russia. Russia, incidentally, is the chair of BRICS and has been driving, sort of monetary policy thought for BRICS. China will be the next chair of BRICS. So you can see that they've got a very firm hold on the way BRICS is developing and how trade settlement is going to occur. So all these factors seem to me to be at the worst possible time for America, when it's just entering a debt trap, driving the dollar out of use internationally, which basically means it will be sold down in the markets. We're already seeing this. I mean, when you look at Central Bank of China is doing, I keep on telling people they're not buying gold, they're selling dollars. The emphasis is important to understand. They are selling dollars rather than buying gold. And that's a process which I see continuing. This is actually a very worrying thing, because in this Thucydides trap, America is behaving exactly as the good Greek general of all those millennia ago was predicting. They are just refusing to let go. If anything, they are likely to accelerate the move towards war. I think Russia and China, thank goodness, are being pretty patient about how they deal with this. This is not good. It is quite possible that we are heading towards all-out war. I mean, when I see France, for example, and also in this country now talking about it more openly, putting troops on the ground in the Ukraine. This is a provocation which really brings NATO directly into conflict with Russia. It's difficult to see how you can have that without actually a formal declaration of war. So this situation is actually getting a lot worse, and it's getting a lot more tense. I think that there is a way out on this one, and it's a dangerous one, and that is for Russia to destroy the dollar, which it can do. Russia could go on a gold standard tomorrow and expose that fiat currency for what it is, and that would be the end of the dollar. And quite quickly, too. I mean, you can imagine the legion, if you like, of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization members their affiliates and associates, we're looking at 60% of the world's population, or nations representing 60% of the world's population, turning against the dollar in one swift move. It will be the end of the dollar. It will be the end of every dependent currency, fiat currency, unless they are prepared to embrace the gold standard. I really don't see that America is in a position to do that, either intellectually or practically.
Putin, speaking at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on June 7th, sharply criticized U.S. economic policies for eroding the global dominance of the dollar. He argued that current U.S. authorities are undermining their own tools of national greatness, particularly the dollar, which he described as crucial to America's current global standing. Putin emphasized that the U.S.'s actions are hastening global economic actors shift away from the dollar. He predicted that this trend will naturally accelerate as the U.S. economy contracts. In response, Putin highlighted the emergence of new financial instruments, including those discussed with BRICS nations, as a counterbalance. He also addressed the substantial U.S. debts and escalating trade deficits, noting the annual $1 trillion trade deficit as a contemporary form of economic domination akin to neocolonialism. To mitigate these challenges, Putin indicated considerations for diversification, including the use of local currencies, a cross-border payment system, and potentially a return to the gold standard aimed at reducing dependence on the U.S. dollar. Let's get back to the interview.
It's in their toolbox. I mean, there are senior Russians who do understand the benefits of putting the currency on a gold standard. I mean, I'll give you an example as to why it really would be very, very good for Russia. At the moment, the central bank's deposit rate is 16%, and that's what's needed to stabilize the ruble. If the ruble went on to a gold standard, then practically for Russian banks, for example, Chinese banks, other banks, it would make sense for them to buy gold in the West, where the yield is 2%, sell it to the Central Bank of Russia in return for rubles, which linked to gold is a gold substitute, and they're picking up 14% on the way. What's not to like?
Yeah.
That is actually the way in which you manage a gold standard. You don't use interest rates to try and manage the economy. You use interest rates to manage your gold reserves. That was learned the hard way in the wake of the 1844 Bank Charter Act in the UK, because it failed something like 3 times before they actually realized that you don't use interest rates to try and manage an economic outcome or to manage the banking system. What you do is use it to exclusively manage your gold reserves, and then you don't have a problem. So on that basis, it's very easy for Russia to stabilize her situation. And just think of the benefits. Interest rates would then decline. Russians in business would find that they can, if you like, their business calculations become a lot more profitable. It means that they will be able to cut the cost of their output and all the rest of it. It would be like another industrial revolution. I mean, it would be fantastic for Russia. And it would actually get her away from having to rely on the export of commodities in order to have a surplus on A, her balance of trade, and B, on her budget. The situation in Russia is that taxes, if you look at personal income tax, it's around about 13%. The higher rate is 15%. I mean, these are levels we dream of. Corporation tax is 25%, admittedly. The government debt to GDP is, and this is despite the war and all the financing of the battles against Ukraine, debt to GDP is only 21 or 22%. So you can see that actually Russia is in an amazing situation, and she can easily go onto a gold standard. She has been pushing for this. She wanted to get gold, a gold-backed currency onto the agenda at the last BRICS meeting, but it was turned down by China and India. India does not want to upset the West. India is not in a position, really, to consider a gold standard because she's been in denial about gold for God knows how long. She's tried to stop her citizens from buying it. It's only recently that she started increasing her gold reserves once she realized the geopolitical situation she was in. As far as China is concerned, it's clear that China does not want to rock the boat. China does not want to poke the American eagle, as it were, by overtly being responsible or partly responsible for the collapse of the dollar. China has made contingency plans against that event. She's going to await developments, I think, before she takes a move to protect her own currency. And when she does, it's almost certain that she will also put her currency onto a gold standard.
Financial analysts and economists at UBS, a prominent global financial services firm, have recommended buying gold instead of selling it during price declines. According to a recent note from the firm, the recent drop in gold prices can be attributed to strong U.S. payroll and earnings data, along with increases in the 10-year U.S. Treasury yields and the U.S. dollar index. The team noted that despite these factors, there are significant economic vulnerabilities, and they anticipate the Federal Reserve signaling 2 rate cuts by the year's end. Given ongoing geopolitical risks and the upcoming U.S. election, UBS advises maintaining approximately 5% of gold in a balanced USD portfolio to navigate uncertainties. Share your thoughts on Alasdair Macleod's forecasts regarding the US dollar, gold, and the global economy in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos. Thank you for watching.